Satnam, everyone, and welcome. I am here with Real Life Fairy. That's not her official title. That's just how I relate.
But it would
to her is actually a woodland fairy princess
creature,
Tonya, and she is the founder of a Rainbow Mushrooms, Rainbow company, and a holistic nutritionist and a social entrepreneur and a Kundalini yogi and so many other beautiful things. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I feel so seen. And I saw something on Instagram the other day. It was like, my pronouns are like princess and something. And I was like, yes, my pronouns are fairy and whatever else you just said.
Exactly. Woodland fairy.
Woodland fairy.
But she's graced us with her presence in New York City. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice to be here.
Yeah. Well, I said the Rama crew are obsessed with rainbow mushrooms. Your company. We really are. And then you made like a glycerin based, because we were all like, we don't want alcohol tinctures, which is, annoying and pretentious of us. She was like, okay, I'll get on it. I'll specifically do this for you people. Gosh. But then you made all these delicious glycerin based mushroom tinctures.
So
thank you for doing that.
I'm pretty sure Guru Jagat was like really, she was an early like, hey, get on this with the glycerites, with like the alcohol free.
Yes.
Yeah,
We love them. Well, I wanted to ask you a lot of things, but I was wondering your introduction to medicinal mushrooms, and when you first arrived at it, were you like, oh, this is my life now? Like, was it a slippery slope, or were you just like, what, medicinal mushrooms, the way, the truth, the life? Like, how did this happen? Because now you are literally the mushroom queen in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it was a slow build, because I first learned about them in 2011. But for me, it's like all these like little, there've been all these breadcrumbs and little kind of steps in the health industry or like just my life really, that I've taken, that really stemmed from my background and interest in health and wellness and healing journey. So in 2011, that was when I first even heard about medicinal mushrooms and like understanding that the forest was a medicine cabinet. And so I just started like dipping my toes in within the years of like 2011 to 2015. I started to like go outside more and really like just start to develop such a deeper connection with nature. And then through that started to learn more about adaptogens and plants and fungi. And then in 2016, I was studying holistic nutrition. I had a high dose. I was working with a practitioner who put me on like a 4 or 5 gram dose of reishi. And that was when my like spirit started to, I was like, oh, I really feel something. Like this.
What's like a normal dose?
A functional dose would be probably around 1 to 2 grams. And then therapeutic is like 4 to 5 plus, which you can do for shorter periods of time. Like if you have cancer or various kind of disease states, you would go into higher amounts. So it was a slow build. But when I feel like there's all these like really kind of critical moments in my life where there have been like junctures, and mushrooms came to me during one of those times where I just kind of like dove in and started reading a lot, and kind of like felt that when you're like in a creative space or you're not sure what your next move is, but you're like, I'm channeling something, like I'm going to create something, but I don't know what that is. And I let myself find some stillness in that space and just started to like read what I was interested in. And what came through in that was, oh my gosh, mushrooms are incredible. And they are a mirror and are showing us this universal architecture in a really beautiful way. And that was when I started to get really kind of obsessed. And that was 2017, 18, 19. And then Rainbow kind of came from that.
Thank you. And it's called Mycelium or Mycelia. Like, how would you refer to like the?
I would say you could do. So fungi are the large, like genus, or like not even a genus, actually above a genus. So fungi are the species. So similar to bacteria or plants. That's kind of the overarching thing when you're referring to like what we commonly call mushrooms. Mycelium is this kind of vegetative structure. So it is the large network of kind of all of these hyphae, so like connections underground. That's what we call the mycelium network, which is this really fascinating adaptive network that connects and grows, and that's what's kind of like, there's a lot of really interesting comparison when you look at different structures and organizational units of like the human body, the brain, the universe, solar systems. Like it gets pretty cool, nutty.
It totally mirrors our human consciousness in many ways and tells us, I think, from what very little I've been exposed to, it's like total reflection of our psyche and how we could work in a most holistic, idealistic way. Mm-hmm. There's, what's this controversial spiritual teacher's name on the internet who I want to interview?
Controversial spiritual teacher.
Which one? I'm blanking on her name. But it'll come to me. But somebody asked her, who do you think is the greatest like living spiritual teacher, or who do you think the greatest spiritual teacher of all time is? And she was like, the Mycelia network, which you would never expect from a spiritual teacher to say that.
Totally.
And that was her take on it, that it was just the most profound, I think, harmonious, right? Because it's all of the plants, they work together. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I love that response very much. And it is, I definitely see fungi. It's really interesting because it's a teacher in the same way that like you're a teacher or whoever, like there is knowledge to be gained, and whether you're doing that via a psychedelic mushroom or a functional mushroom, both are possible, and it depends on like the subtlety of the individual and their perception and like how far you want to go into like the exploration of some of that liminal space. But it's really, I actually feel like I'm on psychedelics most days, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Like Kundalini yoga will also do that to you. Yeah. But it's really hard to put into words, but I would say like one of my biggest lessons from mycelium fungi mushrooms has just been that like pervasive connectivity. And like there's a few ways that they do that mirroring through this like network effect and connection and growth and adaptability, and the way that like you can look at how the brain functions in all of those categories, whether it's like the neuroplasticity or the ability for that, like this beautiful structure of nervous system and spinal cord and brain to like communicate everything throughout the body, or the way that mycelium within landscapes are like traversing really far spaces to send information throughout the forest, throughout the ground, or, connecting the trees that the mothers are speaking to, the sapling trees. And then cosmo level, there's different forces, but still networks, but like the communication style being gravitational forces, electromagnetic fields, and like we know that also applies to us in so many ways. So it's like when you start thinking about that and the ways that all of that is just this like, whoa, there's like definitely this very intelligent architecture that's happening, and you get to like kind of connect with this other life form. Like I've never really connected with bacteria, even though we're mostly made up of bacteria and fungi and viruses and whatnot, but the way that you can ingest a mushroom and feel that communing is, it's really special. It's really.
I love that you said like based on your sensitivity, kind of, because a lot of people obviously are drawn to psychedelic experiences now. And it is like a dosage thing. It's like the few times I've done that, I was like, oh, I'm literally like this all the time anyways. This is annoying because this is how I normally am, and now it's like a stressful version of how I normally am. Yeah. So I was like, I don't need to do that. I'm having a psychedelic reality all the time. But I have spoken to one of my colleagues who teaches, and he was like, oh, I cannot do what is the one? It's chaga. He was like, oh, I'm just like way too horny. I take some chaga. That's the one that people use for libido.
Cordyceps. It could be chaga for him, but cordyceps is typically the like energy libido mushroom.
It might have been another one, but it was so funny because he was like, I
yeah,
I have to lay off of this. And I'm like, I totally understand, because it's like living in New York City, like there's really, I have a fantasy. It's like I wake up and I like have a bacon, egg, and cheese and like a black coffee. Like I want this for myself, but like my body will not tolerate it. It's not like I want to be like an annoying, healthy person, but it just is just the system, the sensitivity of the system that we have. And I feel like as people get more sensitive on the planet, which is obviously happening, things like adaptogens are just such a beautiful, literally way to adapt to enjoying enjoying life. Are all mushrooms adaptogenic? That term is everywhere, right? So
not technically. I would say like kind of, but not technically. Like if you go to the real definition of adaptogen, there's only chaga is sometimes considered an adaptogen, but only reishi and cordyceps are known recognized adaptogens. So that's like the ability to modulate, but they all have modulatory effects. So their intelligence comes into our body and also starts to like help those connections form. So like if the immune system is over-regulated or under-regulated, they'll help bring it into that like balance. Also, there's like in the way that we see them kind of acting as communicators within nature, they also help like I just feel this intuitively, but they're also turning like various systems, organs, like allowing for that communication to happen within the body as well. But no, they're not all technically adaptogens, but they're all modulating the immune system. So anytime you have that modulatory effect, there's but they're powerful. Like they're also, there can be drug interactions if somebody is taking pharmaceuticals. Like there's definitely some considerations that you'd want to take.
And now I'm just getting free nutrition advice, but
anytime.
I've heard like, okay, you take one for like a certain amount of weeks or months, and then you should change it up. Is that true if you're working with like a specific herb or mushroom?
Yes. I mean, I like that approach just to like give the body some cycles of like working with something, not getting too used to it. I mean, reishi is like pretty much my standard every day for like almost 5 years. So that mushroom for me just feels like it's a like part of, like I feel so deeply connected to it from the perspective of like staying calm and just helping with stress levels. But a lot of the mushrooms you could cycle. I would say like that's definitely not a bad idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I love the 1111 elixir.
We love the 1111.
Which it has 11 mushrooms in it, right?
It does. Yeah.
Can you think of anything more magical?
The first one.
It's so cool. Well, when did you start your company? Like when did it officially launch?
May of 2019. So almost, which is like, that's wild.
In my mind, it feels like it was in 2016. I don't know why.
That was when I started coming to Rama. Yeah, 2016. But no, it wasn't created yet.
You're kind of a pioneer in what is now just like the loudest, most obnoxious noise of everyone take mushrooms, take mushrooms, take mushrooms. I mean, I'm on that algorithm. Like I'm on the health algorithm where it's like a bunch of health bros, which I love, but it's like the polarity of everything has a polarity.
Totally.
But you kind of are. You know, because
we were early for sure.
Everything's from Canada, or tell us a little bit about like sourcing.
Yeah. So sourcing was always really important to me when I started to even just like think about creating something. I started to call like any company I could find to be like, hey, where is this from? And I wasn't really getting straightforward answers. Also, like now I understand like, oh my, that's like their supply chain and they value that and they don't want to like maybe share that with me. Yeah. But I still think there can be a lot more transparency than there often is. Mm-hmm. That's kind of starting to shift a little bit. But anyways, I was making these calls. Nobody was really giving me a straightforward answer. And I also was like, I want to grow my mushrooms with crystals. Like I want like somebody to like chant mantras into these mushrooms. I want to be able to send them distance healing. And I was also like, okay, well, I know lots of mushrooms come from China. I can't really take a trip to China right now. So I just started to be like, let's do this local and source everything in Canada, like as much of the supply chain as I can have here, and just build a like sustainable organization. So that's what I started off with, and is still like we have all of our same suppliers, which is important to me, and we've kind of grown and scaled with them over this time. But our mushrooms are all grown. Most of them are grown. There's a few that we wildcraft, like chaga and some turkey tail, but most of them are all grown in Canada. All of our mushrooms come from Canada. Most of them are grown. We source our bottles from overseas, but otherwise like our labeling, our packaging, our manufacturing, everything happens in Canada. And we've kind of really championed fruiting body mushrooms as well, which is, there's some like little bit of industry, like just back and forth on like having a mycelium based product, which you wouldn't technically call a mushroom product, because the mushroom is this like reproductive organ, kind of like a tree would bear a fruit. Mm-hmm. That would be like what you'd see the mushroom pop up, and that's like the reproductive organ that it's like spreading its spores in order to spread the mycelial network. But we really champion those fruiting body. We use a little bit of mycelium from lion's mane to like, there's a lot of great research on lion's mane mycelium, but otherwise we're just like all like just like intuitively too. If you think about our ancestors, or in traditional Chinese medicine, you're like walking through a forest and you can't really like harvest the mycelium. You can see the mushrooms and you're gravitating towards, like there's a calling towards a mushroom. So that's kind of and there's like a ton of research on.
Yeah. Is it because of the concentration that people are like, oh, the mycelium, not the fruiting body?
It's more of like I think there's lots of reasons, but from a business decision standpoint, it's way cheaper to grow and extract mycelium. Like our products will take like 4 months for some mushrooms to even just grow to the maturity of fruiting body. So you can have like a 2-week cycle of your product if you're just using mycelium. So there's some trade-offs in like, you can have a shorter kind of supply chain cycle. Mm-hmm. So there's that, but it's also not to say that like there's nothing that's good in mycelium. There are great enzymes, there's actives, but I think you're not getting the same amount of beta glucans and things like this, even though anyways there's like controversy.
This is why I love your product, is just because it's the part of the Aquarian age is this like charlatanism where it's like, okay, great, everyone's meditating, everyone has a spiritual teacher, everyone's a guru, everyone's on mushrooms, but like, where do these things come from? And like, what is this? And you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it gets a little, there's a lot of gray area, and you realize, I'm realizing, I guess it's pretty obvious, but just marketing is everything, mm-hmm. you know, and mm-hmm. it is way more important in your success than the product itself sometimes. And so that's where there's a little bit of like a deception and the smoke in the mirror of like what is actually happening here. And sometimes mm-hmm. they'll be like really gimmicky marketing where I'm just like, this is mm-hmm. and then somebody I trust, like Shivapreet of Rama, who's a total, like, she's not a doctor but she's basically a doctor, she's like, no, this is legit, it has the concentration, you know what I mean, like she'll send me a product and I'll be like, you know, because it has the shiny cool label and the cool big marketing campaign, I'll be like, I don't know, and she, you know, so it's very interesting time to be in business for that reason.
It really is. I also like, I get really, I don't know if I want to call it high horsey, but like
that's like, an adjective now. Yes.
But like also the seed and the intent of like, why did you create this? I feel like that's infused in a product as well. And sometimes I'm like, okay, whatever, I just need a really high quality product. But I feel like if you can meld like true integrity in like the reason that something exists with like with high quality technicalities, and that's what I was like always with Rainbo is like, no, they'll feel my intention, like they'll get it. And I value that. I don't know if everybody values that. Like sometimes people just value a price tag, and that's totally fair. But I feel like part of the Aquarian age too, and however you want to define success is like that definition of like what is the true motive and how can that be infused in your products or your service or your offerings. Feels like that to me has always been like true, you know?
Yeah, there's no escaping that. And also back to like the sensitivity, it depends who your audience is, because like if you have a developed like intuition or meditative mind, you can like scan the product on the shelf and be like, oh, this is a vibe. I don't know about, you know, because you can you can literally feel the intent, you know? I mean, obviously we're all play to marketing, and marketing is fun too, but you can feel that's something that's like you know, there's no lying about that one. So that's cool. My dad's I was going to say an adaptogenic doctor. He's a naturopath and a Chinese medicine doctor.
Cool.
So I grew up with a freak show of you know, when the term adaptogen came out, it was like, what? Because, you know, he'd been using mushrooms forever in like tinctures.
Cool.
And of course he, you know, was like slightly resentful about like, oh my God, I could be making millions of dollars. So he's like, this is just a Chinese formula with a pink package. I was like, yes, it is. Get on it if you want it. Like it's there, you know.
What kind of stuff did you guys do? Like what was your childhood like?
My childhood was like, my brother was colicky. You know what that is? A colic baby. And he would do acupuncture on him to put him to sleep.
Whoa.
As like a 6-month-old, you know, totally normal. He was in medical school while we were kids. My mom like worked all through that and raised us while he like went to naturopath and Chinese medical school.
So cool.
In Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
And so we'd like open the fridge and there'd just be like
kefir,
a giant, like it was like a parts of a pig's body that he'd taken home to practice like stitching on. Whoa. And we were all like, get it out of the fridge. Like what is it? It was just so, you know, in hindsight is always 20/20. So he's like, oh, I would have been more, you know, lenient about, but he was just learning so much. Like it was such an awakening that it was like no refined sugar. Like even the vegetables we ate were like the highest
organic,
not of course organic, but also like what is the highest nutritional value of the vegetable family, and what is the best, like it was like brown rice and like steamed broccoli and nutritional yeast.
Holy moly.
Yes. But my trauma, I'm sorry, I'm just like relaying my trauma to you all right now. Don't worry.
Wait,
we'll get through this.
Was it experienced as like was it trauma?
Well, we joke about it. No, it was totally not actually trauma. But there was, you know, my mom would like sneak us out to like have McDonald's sometimes or whatever. And she'd be like, don't tell your father. And then it was like an existential crisis of integrity of like, we're keeping this from him. Like,
no, but I actually love that you use the word awakening, because I kind of forget now. And actually that just like brought me back into what it was like when I was in holistic nutrition school or just starting to learn about mushrooms, which is like, we're like far in tipping that scale, but I would say mass wise, most people still don't really. There's like the wellness, more people are learning about mushrooms, but it really, really does feel like an awakening when you start to like understand food and fungi and plants and adaptogens and just natural health as a whole. Like I just love that you said that, because I remember being like in that space of like, whoa, like I gotta make every single change right now, and you can't unlearn what you now know.
That's like when I learned, I think it was anatomy, you know, it's just, I don't know if I should say this. I was telling my brother yesterday, I was like, remember when Kate Moss in the 90s was like, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels? And now everyone's like, you know, then it was like a way of living and people were like, wow, okay, I'll do this. And now it's just like, you know, this horrible thing that she said and everyone's like, oh my God, she said that. But yesterday I was like, I kind of get this in the sense that, hold on, that like when you are in optimal health, like it's such an electric relationship with being alive. And that's a personal relationship that's nothing to do with like weight. Like skinny is not what it is, but it's another way. You know, she was just like smoking cigarettes and not eating. So that's a little different. But like when you are in your personal optimal health or getting in touch with that, it's just this vitality, because, you know, the sluggishness of the liver and all these things that happen with all the, you know, viral load and all these seed oils and blah, blah, blah. It's just really electric. And I'm personally on a journey of like eliminating things from my diet now to get back into this state. And, it's a lifestyle change, you know, and then that's what I'm changing my lifestyle. And then I was like, oh, my hips are more open. Like I realized I can sit in easy pose for way longer. And I'm obviously been doing yoga forever, and I teach and I meditate every single day, but just eliminating some sugar.
Oh, that's so cool.
And some like processed gluten. I realized that my joints have changed like in a matter of like 2 weeks. It's
amazing.
You know, we don't realize how simple, how easy it can be to just pivot.
Totally.
You're nomadic right now, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to identify as that. I just, I was just relating to New York City. It does feel like going against the grain, just being conscious and healthy in certain ways. And that's something I really intend to do in the near future as soon as possible, is to help create. I was like, oh, I live in a food desert. I know that sounds very dramatic, but like particularly the Lower East Side area, there's not, like within walking distance, there's not really health. Definitely. And there's also a lot of still fake healthy kind of stuff going on.
Have you checked out Happier Grocery? Yeah,
I've seen it.
Okay.
It's not near me, so I have to I have to make an intention to go there, but I will journey there.
I went for the first time, and it was like, I was like, okay, this is Erewhon, LA kind of vibes. I was happy.
I was really happy there. If I need to spend all my money, I will journey. And there's also The Well has a little like restaurant now too.
Oh yes, I have heard of that. Yeah, it's such a nice. I was actually just reflecting that like I love being here and like loving it so much, but being like, oh my gosh, like whoa. I was just like sitting on the subway, tuning into like how loud, like just like the sound and like the conversation, and I was like, I feel like I can like hear the mental chatter here, which is just really cool. As like from the nomadic piece of like we've been immersed in like these island places and nature, and coming here is also like it's so good to be able to drop into it quickly. But I'm also like, oh, I can it's noisy, like in the mental kind of frequency way.
It's very noisy, yeah. And certain people are like, oh, how do you live here? I'm like, well, I live at Rama, basically. Yeah,
you guys have created the sanctuary.
It is a sanctuary for anyone who wants to be here. But that's kind of why Kundalini yoga was what it was intended for. Was like this time on the planet for people to be adaptable. And I said to you offline, I've always thought, oh, adaptogens are like Kundalini yoga. Kundalini is an adaptogenic practice where it'll do for you what it's supposed to do. Like one Kriya that we love, that's like a 9-minute yoga practice. Historically, like our empirical data is people will do this every day for a period of time. If they need to lose weight, they lose weight. If they need to gain weight, they gain weight. Or people have like my body shape change doing it because it's a metabolism adjustment Kriya, you know. And this reminds me totally of how mushrooms relate to the body, where it's like, what do you need? Let me support you
in that. Yeah, it's so it like yes, yeah. And when you think about the tenets of like kind of connection, growth, like the network effect as well, of like there's a lot of beautiful similarities that you find in Kundalini yoga, and like what kind of, but yeah, that then we go back, then we kind of just like start circling again, and it's cool and crazy that just like everything, this like beauty of connection, which is just like such a word sometimes overused in whatever way, but like when you drop into those states of like a deep meditative state, or like trance of gong, or you know, a deep meditation, or a flow state, or like the states that, you know, a mushroom can allow you to help facilitate you getting into, it's just like there's some universal through line.
Yeah. I know. I like went to a trip listening to you talk. I was totally in a flow of your flow, but I was also thinking about how you're such a ambassador for mushrooms, not in like a cheesy way, but I feel like you have learned a lot from their consciousness, and you make a lot of cool things. Maybe you already made this, but I think you should do this because I don't have the knowledge of making like a what I've learned from mushrooms like manifesto, like as ways of living, because I think we need that like one sheet.
Yeah,
it could be like pretty, and then it also has all the like life teachings.
I love that you're saying this. I feel like I have been on, I don't know if this is like, I mean, there's probably a bunch of reasons for it. There have been, I feel like I'm psychic now, which is like funny and whatever, but like it's really starting to happen. I am like seeing things and then it happens within that day, or yeah. So I love that you just said that, because that was a thought I had earlier today. And just last week I was like, okay, the full channel of like, I don't really like to talk about things before they happen, but I'm going to talk about it and hold myself accountable. But like a Rainbow book that is more of this like guidebook, which is like the manual for less of the, like more of the unspoken lessons of like, I feel like this is the juice of what people are really searching for. And like, yeah, you can put it in a bottle and call it a calm product or whatever. And like, that's great. And I trust that will provide that, but it's also like the deeper essence of like what we're all kind of searching for, which is like, yeah, vitality and deep connection. And I think that's the like the beauty of why I love this practice so much of Kundalini yoga, is just like that ability to drop into yourself and simultaneously be connected to the universe and the world and you and like the class.
Yeah, I always tell people to do adaptogens, do drugs, do adaptogens like in as a accompaniment to your Kundalini experience, because it'll help. That's what I was guided to when I first started, and
cool.
There was like sort of a warble in the nervous system of like taking on lots of work and doing rigorous yoga practice and, you know, all these different things that I was trying to balance. It was like, have you ever heard of like lecithin in this medicinal way before? For the nervous system?
Don't think I have. No.
Yogi Bhajan prescribed that specifically for women, which, you know, there's a lot of things that you're like, was this just because it was the 90s and people did weird stuff? Like, he's like, take soy lecithin, which now people wouldn't want to do, but lecithin, something about it is like binding for the nervous system. I don't know.
What's your go-to adaptogen?
I don't have right now. I pared it down to like what's like my acupuncturist was like, are you taking the thing? And I was like, listen, like I know myself and I know my medicine cabinet. And if it's like, I'm going to buy like, it's not, it has to be a simple, beautiful ritual. So right now I've added to my protein drink, the yin power powder from Sun Potion. Because also their packaging inspires me. I was like the gold yin
victorious
women power gold bottle, $80 sold. And now I'm like, you have to take it. So I'm taking that, you know, consistently to see what happens. Which is a blend that's mostly designed for the women's system but works for everyone, called Yin Power from Sun Potion.
I'll send you some reishi. I think you'd love it. And I'm also a big fan of ashwagandha.
I think there's some ashwagandha.
Oh yeah, probably in your yin powder.
That's amazing. My dad's super into the reishi. There's also like in, you know, Yogi Bhajan, who brought Kundalini yoga to the West, was kind of, you know, just in India, they're like such holistically trained masters that he was an astrologer and a palmist and an Ayurvedic, you know, wisdom keeper and all this kind of stuff. So he would just drop this random nutrition knowledge, and there's like books on his nutritional healing as well. But he would say things like, we have in the business manual, we were talking about Rama's Business Academy. In one of the business manuals, we found like different drinks and stuff. And he was like, go-to cola.
I'm obsessed with go-to cola.
Yeah.
It's in one of our next products.
Oh my God.
Like what? Yeah. Brahmi. Does he call it Brahmi, or I think
he called it go-to cola. And then some other ones like that. He's like, this is why these rishis are living over 150 years old, because they drink this every day.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Where do you find his business manuals? I feel like I found one. I haven't revisited it in a while.
That's the Rama business manual.
Okay.
We made one, which you might have. And we pull like excerpts from different teachers.
Amazing. Yeah.
So cool.
So cool.
Which brings me to a really important question. Do you drink caffeine? Because I saw, no, it's fine if you drink. If you do, I'm not like, shame. But I saw your post about like why not to have it, and you know, I feel that this is in my near future. But I'm just curious.
I stopped in Feb. I'm back on matcha now, so it didn't last that long, but it was so hard. And you know what? I probably could have kept going, but I just like.
Was it several months?
It was 6 weeks. That's how far I got. But I was really proud, actually. It was still like a good chunk of time. And now, I mean, I've had such an on-off relationship with coffee, so that is usually just like a no-go for me. I'll have it like every once in a while, or a decaf. But I love matcha.
Matcha has so many amazing healing properties, like the antioxidants and stuff. You know, it's legit when it's It is.
Yeah.
It's what we should all be having.
And you're thinking you're gonna do caffeine free soon?
No.
I
mean, no, I do. I know that this is in the cards, and I know that this is a thought that I've never really shared out loud, but I strongly feel that coffee specifically has a certain stronghold on lowering the consciousness of the planet. I love coffee. Okay, but when I am not drinking coffee, I feel like I'm in a different reality, and I feel, trying to articulate it without sounding ridiculous, but I feel like I'm barely of this earth. Can something hold me down? And I just like smell the coffee and I'm like, oh, the people of the earth. You know what I mean? Because it's like I'm not doing the refined sugar, I'm not doing drugs or alcohol, I'm not eating meat. And then this coffee is something. And then somebody who channels told me that she received the message that like aliens, the fun fact that like aliens on other planets, they trade coffee. Like it's a trade that everyone on other planets are also fascinated. Other galactic species are also like, coffee. Wow. That's my alien impression.
Coffee.
But I do feel it has that kind of thing. And then as a yogi or anybody who wants to have, you know, longevity in their system, for the nerves, it's very harsh on the nerves. It's kind of like, just FYI, anyone listening, it's kind of like wine, where people be like, it's good for you. It's like, no, like whatever good benefits outweigh
like what the alcohol does,
what they do. Similarly with coffee, I believe.
It's so funny too, like when I remember I stopped drinking coffee every day like in 2020, but one time recently when I had some, I remember like kind of going to Simon later that day, my husband, and being like, oh my gosh, like, I should just like, I need to tell you how much work I got done today. Like, let me just brag to you for a moment. Like, look at all this. Like, I think I had sent like, I don't know, 50 emails or something crazy. And he was like, don't, like, you know, you drank coffee today. And I had this moment of just like, oh, when you take the step back and you don't drink it and then you have it and you're like, oh, this really is, like Terrence McKenna would call it the dominator culture's drug, which is just like it, like if you just like the productivity, the doing, which is like so valued in our society, but like, yeah, you can get shit done. But
this is not the message I wanted to hear from you. I'm looking for some inspiration in the other direction.
And the other direction is that your life is going to be more peaceful. You're going to have better adrenals, and you're just it's going to be better. Trust me.
I think, but from your 6 weeks not on it, or not on caffeine, like do you feel like, man, you really hit a wall where the adrenals and the system has to replenish itself? Like, was there a lot of tiredness, or was it?
Oh, it was pretty, honestly, the first 2 weeks were like rough in the sense of I had so much brain fog. I was really tired, a little bit unmotivated. And those are like really strange feelings for me because I have really good energy for the most part. So there was just like, the 2 weeks was, some people don't even get any of those kind of symptoms, but I did. But after that, it was like, you just forget that you even like the energy is sustained throughout the day. And there's no, it was like, I could have had a coffee. I wouldn't have really, or not a coffee rather, but like a matcha, and I wouldn't have known the difference. So you ease into it. And going back to matcha also hasn't felt like super jarring on my system. It's felt like natural.
Yeah, it's very natural.
Yeah.
Totally different in the like L-theanine and all the stuff that's naturally in it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I don't like the taste of things with tannins. Like I wish
like matcha.
I wish I wasn't literally a child, but like things that are really, I mean, I love like leafy greens and stuff, but seaweed and matcha, things like this, I know. I might be able to train myself. And then there's the like...
Wait, so are you drinking coffee or black tea? Like yogi tea?
I do both.
You do both, okay.
But I'm training myself, I guess. Like in the traditional Chinese medicine and other Eastern traditions, and Western, I guess they would say the taste of the herb is also the medicine. So like...
bitter.
I have a lot of bitter things that, I was trying to do the nettle tea and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to vomit.
You think nettle is bitter?
Yes. Is bitter not the word?
Well, no, it kind of is, but I don't. Everybody's taste buds are going to like be having a different experience, I think.
Yeah, but there's something about that experience of like not being addicted to the dopamine of sweetness or whatever other thing you're looking for that is the medicine as well, which is so also psychedelic.
It's so psychedelic. I know. It's it's a psychedelic life.
Life is very psychedelic. We're here to tell you. And that's one thing, like, I follow you on social media. We don't really know each other, but I just love your freedom. And this is something that I'm frolicking into more because that's my natural kind of state.
Totally.
There's just this energy of, I don't know, participating in the natural flow of joy, which is available to everyone that you're sharing, which is also medicine.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. I tried to, I also really need it because I think the juxtaposition of business and like being an entrepreneur and what that requires of you, I don't always share as much of that, but like the demands of that necessitate my need for like play and reminding myself, of these things.
And I wanted to talk to you about that because you're a super inspiring entrepreneur. When you began, were you like, oh, cool, business. I love business. I'm into business. Or were you just like, mushrooms, let's make a little bottle?
Yes. The latter. Mushrooms. Let's make a little bottle. Yeah. Honestly, when I think about how far I've come, I am truly amazed at myself. Because I was like, I knew. But I also admire the naivety. Like there was also beauty in that special moment. Of like just figuring it out and not knowing anything and like throwing, things to the wall and seeing what would work and like zero pressure. I think like I sometimes like to tell other entrepreneurs that of like, just, getting into a state where you're like, I don't know, like I'm not like what you actually said this yesterday, in class, which I loved. I think it was maybe a reading. It was this, what did you say? It was, can I have everything and be attached to nothing? And so a little bit different, but like in the business sense, it was like, I was like, I'm going to make this and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not attached to the outcome that this will work. I think it will, but I like, what will happen will happen. And and that's even different in me now, which has changed. And that's kind of like, of course, it's a solid business now. But yeah, no, I didn't really know that much about business. I'd never taken a business class. So
that's like true creativity, as Rick Rubin would say. It's that is doing it that's art, doing it for the sake of doing it, which I'm thinking about a lot recently, because it's like, these are your two options on the polarity planet. You can participate. You want to create something, you create it, and you see it to the end and you put it out there. Or you cannot, because you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And it's like, who cares what the outcome is? Because literally the creative process is necessary for your vitality in all facets of your life. So that's really cool. Advice for entrepreneurs that I wouldn't think about. And then I've also seen, like, I love your brand aesthetic, and I'm sure you have a hand in a lot of these details, and I notice you collaborate a lot. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that necessity, and do you feel like that's been instrumental in your growth, or is it just something that you really enjoy?
It's a good question too. Like collaborations in what sense? Brand,
like with brands,
yeah,
or other people, ambassadors, and
yeah, I would say so. I think just this, like, yes, like in the similar way that I feel like in business I've also tried to be like, how would the mushrooms do it, like, you know, which is like, it's going to be a community effort, and so brand collaborations have been big, or even if it's been like, you know, strategic collaborations in the sense of a giveaway, or the podcast, or we have I'm speaking in tongues now. We have some cool collaborations coming out this year. But yeah, I would just say, like, from the networking and like effort of spreading it near and far, that has been definitely very, very key. And some of it's been organic, and other times it's been like stuff we've planned. Kind of depends. In the first 3 years, it was a lot of just organic growth. And then now we, put different strategies to things and whatnot.
Are you naturally outgoing?
Yes, very much. It's funny. I mean, I am, like, I could make friends with, I've always been able to make friends anywhere I go. But I recharge solo. I'm a projector also. So I'm like mostly.
Same.
Yeah. Yes.
What kind of projector are you?
3-5.
Me too.
You are? No way. Okay. What does that mean for us again? The 3-5 aspect?
I don't know.
Aren't we like the reluctant heroes?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm a splenic projector. What's your origin?
That sounds I'm not. I'd have to double check with my guide. I haven't like memorized it per se, but like everything is open for the most part.
Yeah. So like making decisions
is tough for me. Yeah. It's like I'm a person that needs to like retreat and consider and usually talk, and then I can make the decision.
Yeah. This is funny. Mirror, mirror.
Yeah.
And the mushrooms have put us together.
I love it. But I am very outgoing, but I need solo time, and I need to recharge. But it's since our expedition of living on the island and having a lot of seclusion, I've actually come into this new phase of like just a different form of like just wanting community and wanting to be around people and the movers and the shakers, and like I really thrive in community settings like that. And that was like always like I'd feel resistance. Like when I lived in a city, I would be like, no, I don't want to go out. Like, and now I'm just like, I don't know, there's a bit of a different ease to it at this stage, which is nice.
That sounds really nice. Like, it was probably so healing. You live on an island in Canada, right? Mm-hmm. Who else lives there besides the Mycelium?
We lived in the forest. There's like a population of honestly maybe 15,000, and then in the summers it grows to like 50,000. I might be making those figures up, but something like that. A lot of there's a beautiful, very conscious community on Salt Spring Island. Like, that was very special, but it was still a little bit difficult. We were there in the kind of winter season, a lot of transient people, so we just didn't really a lot of like an older community as well, a lot of farmers and things, and just it was very healing though. Yeah. My nervous system was like purring.
That's so cool. How many people are on your team now?
Still have a small team. There are 5 of us, which is nice. A nice number.
But you're out of the like day-to-day labeling and shipping, so you can think about bigger kind of stuff.
Which has been a journey.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about about that as inspire the up-and-coming entrepreneurs.
Okay, well,
because it's a leap that you have to take in delegation and communication and systems.
Oh yes, you're speaking my language. I've been very not a systems person, like very much not a systems person, and I wouldn't say disorganized, but like maybe some people would say disorganized. So where do I want to start? When I started to really reflect on my time, I got upset and was like, oh, there's really big changes that need to happen. I am like so in the daily minutia, and it was just like, it's a grind. Like, and there's also better people that are just like more experienced and have better organizational skills and thrive in that. So yeah, it's been a really big process of like time blocking, time management, looking at how I spend my time and like what I say is important, and are those two aligned? And also, do I have the ability to be of the best use and in my zone of genius and visioning and thinking about the future, being able to like create community and do, various things that are in my zone of genius. So I got kind of real with that about 2 years ago. And that was when I was like, okay, I need to like delegate better and just have like structure within our organization. So it's been a work in progress, and it's feeling so good right now. And it was also like a struggle in terms of it being a journey. Yeah.
I think this is like it's a bold task to not be in a corporate kind of position where people are telling you how to spend your time, but you have to create.
And the other reality too is that like if you're gonna bootstrap a business, like you're making the decision to be in it for a few years. So there's still stuff I would have done differently, but also I'm so happy with where we are, and the like knowledge I have of my business as well is like also different. So it depends on like which way you want to go. If you're going to like raise a bunch of money and you can hire a team from the outset, that's amazing. One thing I did just recently was hire a VA, a virtual assistant, which is probably one of the best things. And I would say I would have done that way earlier if I knew. And so it's a kind of like overseas talent that supports you in doing the things that are just like not high worth of your time, like the drafting of emails that like you don't need to write, but you could look over them, and just like various things that free you up to do more of the thing that's going to be the biggest impact.
Yeah, I would say this is like definitely projector speak, but also everyone. Everyone needs to find their zone of genius and outsource. There's always people who want to help. It's an adaptogenic experience, right?
Totally.
Like everyone benefits when they're in the right position.
Yes. Yeah.
I also wanted to mention your Stella McCartney situation. I was like, wait a second. She's at Fashion Week representing mushrooms. Yeah, can we talk about this for a second? Did you get an invitation? You were like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, I did. It was such a dream come true. I still remember receiving the email, and just a cool, like they found it. Like Stella McCartney found Rainbo, and that's in and of itself is just like a testament to. I always remember 2016 coming to one of Guru Jagat's classes, and she would share something about Yogi Bhajan, basically saying like, being the lighthouse, like true success is doing your thing and like having that gravitational force come to you. And I've always thought about that, which is all, and that probably resonated with me because I'm a projector as well. And like, that's the whole thing of learning to do something you're really passionate about and then waiting for the invitations to come. So that felt like a beautiful kind of projector moment. And Yeah, so Stella McCartney, they are working with a bunch of really incredible Mycelium leathers. They're a sustainable fashion brand. So they started to create with Milo Unleather these Mycelium fabrics. And we had the opportunity to do a lunch event and a panel at New York Fashion Week, and they're amazing.
I definitely think that's, the fashion industry has gotten a little stale. So that is definitely the future. Speaking to some other friends in fashion, like, let's have a gong bath at the show. And then
love that.
There's pop-up fashion stores nearby Rama. And there was, they change. It's the Assembly, New York, Assemblage,
something like that.
Assembly New York has a little pop-up store next to them, 1 block from Rama.
Okay.
And they have different, people who are there for like a week or two, like really short pop-ups, which is fun. And there was this one designer who was like, I'm here for Fashion Week. I think she was from Greece. And I'm like, why am I drawn to, you're always drawn to it for some reason. And she was like, in our fashion show, we're playing this like healing Hertz music down, I was like, oh, of course,
yes.
This is,
wow.
So consciousness has to enter every sect, because people are becoming so unfulfilled with something that's not deeper, right? So it makes total sense that you were there. Have they always been sustainable?
I'm pretty sure she's been like a very big proponent of vegan leathers for a long time. For like tens of years. You know what I mean? Like many years.
Mycelium leather, that's so cool.
It's so cool, and it is stronger than real leather. It is a very, very special material. Mycelium.
That's beautiful. Well, I did want to ask you about your experiences with moderation. Moderation in terms of the city and the nature and the consumption. I do think the wellness world and the nutritional wellness world is, there's just so much noise on the internet, and it's also often not real in terms of what's projecting versus what is, and everyone's so different. I'm just curious how you relate to your own wellness in terms of your self-care and like what's reasonable for you, and just all the components of what's real in terms of living life holistically versus what is just kind of for the Instagram.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked that too, because something little thought I had earlier when we were talking was kind of about this, which is like, what I've been practicing lately is my own ability to like hold nuance and hold the polarity of like being anywhere, and like really being okay with that, and with like accepting like my own shadow in that experience of like, instead of making this bad or like hard or creating some random story about it, like, can I just be so present and aware of like my strength to navigate this situation? So like, even if I'm thinking about, there was a moment where I was like, oh, do I want to even like, do I have time? Do I want to put a narrative to the fact that like, how am I like in nature and now like integrating into city life? I'm like, oh, well, like I could say that that's hard, but it's actually just like, I want the ability to like flow into those states really easily. You know what I mean? And so I think that's part of the moderation. And like, I think sometimes within the wellness world, there can be these rules or ideas of good and bad. And like, can I nix that for whatever reason and just be with whatever feels good and what is needed in this moment? And so I'm kind of like somewhere between there in the holding of like, what did I learn about recently? It was like the wounded feminine and the wounded the wounded feminine and divine feminine. And I'm like, oh, I've spent so much time with my like divine feminine aspects, but like, where's my wounded feminine? And can I like fully embrace that side of me as well? And can that allow for this like exaltation of like me in this other stage, which is really just like being able to go between both. And so that's like, I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's kind of my navigation of moderation at this moment in time, of like being able to exist in both. And I think that's like so vital for this time on our planet too, where you're like, whoa, how can I hold this, like, oh my God, like this fact that we get to like live these lives, and there's like just other worlds, other realities that are existing simultaneously. And so there's a lot of that. And I think how that translates into health and healing can be like, I don't know, just like really being present with what I feel I need. I have my staples of like things I do every day. And then I'm like, can I allow for some flexibility to like not make something so good or so bad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're an adaptogenic mushroom. That's what my takeaway is. But that's really what I think we all need to be right now. And there's something like disembodied about only showing certain parts of you or not.
Yeah.
That is a thing in the wellness and spiritual scene, is there's a numbness because you're not wanting to like let everything flow with what is happening now as it's happening.
Well, and you mentioned the social media bit too, which is like interesting because of course, like there's an element of like what we obviously how we decide to show up in that space and what we share. So it's like inherently not a full picture of reality. And, so.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't criticizing your social media, but I was thinking more just like the wellness in general. Sometimes it can be perceived as like a literal prescription of like, here's the perfect life you need to live.
Right.
And then people are going totally viral, living their imperfect lives because people are so refreshed
it's
to
so
see things as they are.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is this trailer park mom who just makes food for her kids every day in the trailer park. And she's like little crystals in the background. I'm like, oh, she's so cute.
That's really special.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's been so nice speaking to you and so inspired by you, and looking forward to the rainbow journey and your journey. And just please keep sharing your processes, your words.
Thank you.
Showing up so people can see how you live and participate, because it's really healing to watch and really necessary. And I know that our late great teacher Guru Jagat would be so happy that you're here and that you're thriving and that everything is growing with the glycerin-based tinctures.
Thank you for having me. Such a joy, pleasure to chat and be here.
Yes. Sat Nam.
Sat Nam.
Sat Nam, everyone.
Sat Nam.
Thank you.